Behind every attorney's robe
Mm.
is a story of discipline, conviction, and purpose. For Benjamin Tshishiku, a legal associate and admitted attorney of the High Court of South Africa, law is more than a profession. It's a vehicle for justice, equality, and humanity. From his early days of studying law at the University of South Africa to completing his practical legal training at the University of Pretoria, and now working at a financial services company, Benjamin's journey reflects both grace and grace. Fluent in multiple languages and grounded in a humanitarian philosophy, he stands as part of a new generation of legal minds redefining the essence of advocacy. In this edition of The Bar, we sit down with Benjamin to unpack his academic and professional path, his experience through articles and admission, and his reflections on justice, purpose, and perseverance. Benjamin, welcome to In Conversation.
Hi, Tepiso. Thank you so much for having me.
So, Benjamin, take us back to the beginning. What inspired you, your journey into law, and when did you first realize this was more than just a career choice, but a calling?
Thank you, man. From a young age, I was drawn to the idea of justice, not just as an abstract concept, but as something that shapes real lives. Growing up in a diverse community, I often witnessed how access to justice was not equal for everyone. The realization sparked my curiosity about the law, but over time it evolved into calling, a personal responsibility to use my legal training to serve and empower others. I believe law was not merely a career choice, but rather um, a purpose to serve the community. So I believe me choosing this path actually allowed me to help the society where I can. So I believe that this journey was indeed created for me, if I can put it that way.
So, what was your first career choice when you were a kid? What did you want to?
I think my first option was I wanted to be a pilot. I think I was just fascinated by the planes and everything. I think because we travel so much that I was actually fascinated by such. As time went on, injustice that is just that was happening and that I've also experienced personally. Saw myself drawing myself close to the law side. I think from that angle was just my way to the law and try to understand people and to see if what I can actually influence when it comes to the law.
So, when I was going through your Instagram profile, I saw that you describe yourself as both a lawyer and a lifelong humanitarian. How have those two passions shaped the kind of teen you are today?
Humanitarian outlook has grounded my legal practice in empathy, whether I'm drafting a contract or resolving a dispute. So it has brought my humanness into the law, not merely just a typical lawyer that focuses on the result, but rather in the process of that result. So I try to see the human impact behind the legal issues. This perspective pushes me to approach the law not just as a set of rules, but as a tool for restoring dignity and promoting fairness. We sometimes forget that we're dealing with human beings behind the law. We just we draft and we argue matters that we don't see ourselves that we're actually impacting people's lives. So the humanitarian part actually brings me back to reality, saying that there's actually a human being behind the case number. Therefore, such mentality has actually helped me to, or rather, as it has given me a ground to stand upon, not just treat every case as a law matter, but rather as a human that can be affected from the decision that I might make when it comes to that case.
That's a wonderful answer. I didn't think of it that way. So you hold an LLB from UNISA and have pursued further studies through the University of London. What motivated your academic path
Yes.
and how have these experiences?
Thank you so much. My studies at UNISA gave me a strong foundation into South African law. We had 40 modules that actually guided us how South African law is actually being implemented from the legislatures to the jurist who actually applies the law. So I wanted to understand what law means beyond the walls of South Africa. Therefore, while the University of London expanded my perspective on international law framework, combining both local and international, it has given me a different perspective on how I view the law. The law cannot be read in isolation. Therefore, having both perspective of different continent or different countries has allowed me to actually read the law better and approach it in a very different way, not just in a narrow way that can actually be limited. Those two universities actually gave me a very strong foundation. Therefore, I'm actually honored to have such an experience to go to both university and understand the law in different world, if I can say.
So did you say studying at UNISA? So UNISA is known for distance learning.
Yes,
So was it hard to complete it
that's correct.
without lecturers?
It's a long distance, as you said. It's very challenging. You need to actually be committed. You need to have passion for what you're doing. You need to know what you're doing, where you're going, because most things are done by yourself. So initially, the only contact that you probably have with the lecture is through them marking your paper. Therefore, you need to actually work hard behind closed doors, put in the work, so that by the time that, because there is nobody that's actually asking you to submit an assignment. Okay, you do have due date, so you have to create your own timetable. You have to be disciplined. You have to know what you want in life. So to answer your question directly, will be yes, it was challenging, but with passion and hard work, everything just became more understanding, more flexible, if I can put it that way.
So after completing your LLB practical legal training, do you mind sharing what
Yes,
that is?
that's correct.
Do you mind sharing what practical legal training is all about?
So practical legal training, it's initially yes. So initially it's all about so initially what my aim was, firstly I have to start why I went there. So initially it's to prepare you for your board exam. So we do have board exam. So legal training, it's a 6-month course that you can do. I think is given from UNISA, UP, and other universities that actually have that program. It's for 6 months that you go through certain modules that you prepare you for your board exam, and then from there you can qualify it. So if a person intending on writing that board exam, they can actually do 6 months, and it also allow you to actually, if you're doing your article for 2 years, then it actually allows you to actually write your exam within a year. So I think that was also one of my intention behind going to law school.
Now I understand. So many law graduates find the transition from theory to practice quite challenging. What was the transition like for you, and what lessons did you learn during your articles and board exam preparation?
A transition from writing and to practice, it's not the same. It's really challenging because you in school, or rather in varsity, you're being taught the theory. Now in practice, you have to practice. You have to put what you study in the book in practice. So initially, it was really challenging. But what made my journey a bit flexible was that I did moot court during my years in my studies. So I did most of the moot court, and it allowed me to actually understand how the court works. So meaning practice, how practice works. So by the time I was migrated to practice, it wasn't a much of a shift. It was more of I'm still doing the same thing, but now in reality. So it made my life easier. So if I have to give someone an advice out there, I'll be like, varsity, when you're still in varsity, try to engage in such moot courts, law debates. Actually allows you, it guides you, especially if you're more interested in litigation. It will allow you to actually allow you and equip you for your practice, for your litigation. Therefore, by the time you see yourself litigating, it won't be much of a challenge, rather more of a repetition of what you've been doing in varsity. So yeah.
So, not everyone that completed their LLB can say that they are an admitted attorney of the High Court. What did that moment mean to find out that
Oof.
you are an admitted
Firstly, admission does not start from law school. I always take my admission as starting from primary, starting from that grade R, or going to school. You don't even know what you're gonna be. So if I have to describe the feeling, I'll say finally you can see your hard work coming, showing. People being proud of you, where you started, because we all start that journey of LLB, but not everybody actually completes it. Not everybody goes and become admitted. So for me, the feeling was something that I can't really describe, but I can literally, in one word, I can say hard work. Hard work literally pays off, because it literally shows what you've been working. And mind you that in a journey, nobody sees when you're working, to just see the results. So initially at the finish line, that's where everybody congratulates you and even tells you that well done. But during the it was time challenging, doubting yourself, not being sure if you're actually gonna make it. So by that time, when you actually get admitted, it's a feeling that you can't explain. It's a feeling that only you can actually tell, you can actually feel, you can't even explain to somebody out there asking like yourself, asking right now, because by the time I got admitted, everyone was excited, but I was just seeing the journey, how the journey was, when I was doubting myself, how everything went, the hard work, then, sleeping late, not even sleeping, living on Dragon, energy drink. So all that actually shows that your hard work pays. So it's a very satisfying feeling that you get from being admitted.
So the process of becoming an attorney can be mentally and emotionally taxing. What mindset or strategies help you push through those difficult moments?
It's simple for me. It was the end goal. So the end goal was what I wanted. I remember after finishing my LLB, my aim was to do articles. I started my article. Even everyone was asking me, "Are you sure you want to start your article? I mean, are you sure you can probably do something else?" But I'm like, I want to be admitted, and that was my end goal. So initially, I created a mindset of a mindset that I have with me, that my end goal was to be admitted, and for my admission, then I'll see my way forward. So I think you have to create such a mentality that you can't be break, because articles have broken so many people, that I know so many colleagues that have started their articles but could not finish it because mentally they're not ready. So you need to actually have a strong mindset that you know what you want, and whatever happens, you're gonna pull through. There were times where I had to sleep 1 in the morning and I had to be at work at 8. There were times where you research the law, you get to court, it's not what the law says, you're not doubting yourself. But through all that, I knew what I wanted. Mentality for me, if I had to tell someone, create a strong mentality that can actually help you through such program or process rather.
So you mentioned that not everyone gets to finish doing their articles. My question is, if you don't do your articles, can you still maybe practice law in a different way? Use your LLB.
Yes, you can practice. You can practice law with your LLB. We've got legal advisors, where you just draft contracts. I do have colleagues that are not admitted. They just have their LLB, and then yeah. So you won't be admitted, but you're gonna be a corporate lawyer. And one thing about the law, it's very broad. So initially, there's so many things that you can do with your LLB. You don't have to only be admitted. You don't have to only go to your articles. There's so many routes, so you can still utilize your LLB when you obtain it.
So you also work for a corporate for a corporate you also work for a corporate company as a legal associate must
Yes.
bring a unique dimension to your legal career. How does your work differ from traditional law firm experience, and what impact do you hope to?
Okay. The difference, if I start with the difference is, so we mostly deal with so initially so we have the legal department has got so many departments, or departments, if I can put it that way. We've got contracts, we've got legal disputes, we've got so it's legal dispute, it's contract, and it's a letter of demand, how to deal with such response. So initially we don't go to court. That's the difference between a normal law firm. Most of our job we do it after. So initially they want something, you want to draft the contracts for the company. We draft contracts for the companies. We deal with legal disputes, as such as a subpoena that is being issued for certain clients, that we need to actually look from a law perspective or a legal perspective, how the company can actually comply with the POPI Act. So this disclosing such documents, we need a court order, or we need something directly from attorneys. Such request is actually dealt by the legal department first, before we can actually before the other department can actually provide any other documents for a client. Because if we provide such without any court order or anything, then we are indeed breaching the POPI Act. So that's the difference between us and a normal law firm. And a normal law firm, they go to court most of their time, and we initially don't go. We just draft contracts, and we deal with the legal dispute that the bank might face. So we actually prevent any risk that it might face. If the marketing department has any issues, they want to promote any product, they probably send it to us, the legal department first. We scrutinize everything. We identify any risks that the bank might face if this thing it's actually launched without us evaluating the product. So we look at the risk, how to prevent such. So it's quite exciting, quite mind blowing. You're using your brain a lot, because you have to use the other department actually trusts you, because you are the legal person in that field, to actually give them guidance on how to actually prevent from any risks that the bank might face. So yes.
So if you guys mess up, that means the bank might go bankrupt.
not bankrupt, mostly like charged. We might even be sued,
Yo,
because remember, we still have to yes, we still have to comply with the National Credit Act. We need to comply with the NFO, I believe so, if I'm not saying it wrong. We have to comply with so many entities, that so that we don't get fined. The ombud, we don't have to get fined by them, because I think most, or what I've heard, banks, they've been being sanctioned 2 million to actually pay. So such amount, you don't want the firm, or rather the organization, to pay such amount. So yeah.
earlier on you mentioned the POPI Act. So for someone who doesn't
Yes.
know it, can you please explain it? And also someone who's an employee, how does it affect them?
Okay. So initially, a POPI Act, guides, or rather protects individual from their information to be provided without their consent. So in my space, I can't provide, or I can't allow the bank to provide bank statements or any other documents to the third party without a court order. So from an employee perspective, the person they're not allowed to actually publish or give you information without your consent. Therefore, if they do that without a consent, then they've breached the POPI Act. Therefore, they can be liable for a fine, because they've given your documentation, or your information without your consent. So all that can actually be guided through a POPI Act. That's why most people these days are like, POPI Act, we can't take pictures of it because of POPI Act, because POPI Act guides us from being misused, or from someone else doing something without asking you first. So the POPI Act actually regulates all those actions.
Oh, okay. And now I've got a better understanding of it. So you've gained
Yes.
experiencing litigation, research, and legal drafting. Which aspects of the legal profession challenges and on which aspect of the legal profession challenges and excites you the most? Why?
Challenging, I'm not sure here. I'm not sure about challenging. Let me start with exciting. I love what I do, drafting. I believe drafting, it's so amazing, because drafting, it's where you utilize your brain. It's where you sit at 2 in the morning, you're like, okay, how do I maneuver from what this act says? Because every ad can be utilized in your favor and against you. So, and when you're drafting as an attorney, you actually have to be mindful. You have to use the law. You have to use the law that is provided for you. Drafting a contract, you care so much about the T's and C's, terms and condition, that you don't have to breach. You have to make sure that, because by the time you draft that contract, by the time the supplier gets it, you are drafting it in a way that you protect yourself, you protect the company or the product. So you have to draft it in a certain way that also it must be fair. So as much as it protects you, it needs to protect also. As much as it protects you, it also needs to be fair, because you still have to comply with what I've mentioned, the National Credit Act. There's so many acts that you have to comply with. Drafting for me actually fascinates me, because I get to use my brain. I get to think. Yes, it frustrates me a lot sometimes, but at the end, after once you're done drafting what you're drafting, you're excited, and you're actually like, okay, I actually enjoy what I was doing. My mind was being utilized fairly. And then in terms of challenging, so challenging can be, I had to take it back to my article days. I think litigation, I love litigation so much, but it was so challenging, because you get to move from one case to another. You can be dealing with a divorce matter, and then from divorce you move to maintenance. So you need to shift that brain from from maintenance to divorce. So it was really tricky for me. So it became challenging in a way that it was tiring. Long hours. You can be in court, but your mate can only you're in court at 8, and your mate is only heard at 12. So you've been there the whole time. By the time you get to the magistrates, you're already tired, and that was really challenging for me mentally. Get home tired. So initially, that actually guided me to actually move to corporate, because I saw myself drafting my contract, using my brain, not initially just litigating and being frustrated by difficult clients. But yeah, that's what I find a bit challenging when it comes to law in general.
So that means you won't be going back to litigation anytime soon.
Not anytime soon, but it's still my passion, so it might change. We're not sure yet. We don't know what the future
Yeah,
holds,
true.
but yeah, we'll see.
So, in your view, what qualities to distinguish a great lawyer from a good one, especially in South African evolving legal?
Okay, you said a good lawyer and a great
Yeah.
lawyer.
And also, I want you to
Yeah.
tell me
So a good lawyer,
which one are you, a great
yes.
lawyer or a good one?
Which one am I? I see myself between. I say between. So a good lawyer is a lawyer that just argues the matter to and it goes back with my motto, saying humanitarian. A good lawyer just argues the matter to win the case, and it's done. It does not matter how they don't sympathize with the client. You know, it's all about how much do you charge per hour. They give you the amount. They don't really understand what the concept of the law or what the rather the issue is at that moment. They just argue the matter. They lose or they win. They're good. And then a great lawyer combines hard work with passion. With passion, I'm doing my work. I'm overdoing myself. I'm oversharing myself. And it does not mean that I don't consider myself, but rather I have such passion for the law that I remember why I started the law. Why I started practicing in the first place was to help people, was to change the society. So a great lawyer does that. So that's why I do consider myself as a great lawyer, because I don't just practice the law because of practicing the law, but I practice the law with passion behind it, with love for my client, with love for the product, with love for the contract I'm drafting, with all the challenges that I might face. I know why I'm doing this, with fairness, with clarity, that the person can actually understand what I'm actually drafting, and it's always with good intention, good moral behind what I'm drafting. So that's what makes a great lawyer. That's what I'm saying. Which I think one of your question was in this society. I mean, in this day and age, it's really hard to find great lawyers because most people are just doing it for the money, and it becomes a challenge because yes, you do it for the money, but where's the passion? Where's the sympathy for your clients, for why you started it? So I think that can make one a great lawyer and can make one a good lawyer.
So, what misconceptions do people often have about the legal profession that you wish to challenge or correct?
To challenge that law is hard. I think I have to disagree with that. Law is not hard. Law requires you to just be focused, to know actually what you want in life. So initially people were like, you studied law, huh? You smart. And remember, for me, I don't even consider myself being smart. I consider myself being a hardworking man. You know, just work hard and put in the hours. You know, that's all you have to do. Once you put in the hours, it will be. So that concept about the law, it really it really shift everything. And one other point is, many people think law is purely about arguing or prestige. In reality, it's about service, patience, and continuous learning. Success is not measured by the status, but by the positive impact that you actually implement, or you actually create in people's life. So no, it's all about, for me, it's all about passion. It's all about servicing to the other people, being patient with clients, being patient with that contract you're drafting, because you know that contract, it's actually your work that people will look out there. So if people can actually see the law from that point of view, I think it will be really great.
So, now you work as a legal associate. Yeah, as a legal associate, né?
Yes.
So, with
Yes.
the career ladder, how far can you go in the corporate side?
Corporate side. So there is legal associate, is the specialist, there is legal advisor, there's head of legal. So it depends on each organization how they actually structured their organization. Others can be legal associates, senior legal associates, and then partners, and other parties. So I can actually give way what my structure looks like, but it does not apply to other organizations. So it actually differs. So yeah, so I can tell you what mine looks like, but someone can also come and tell you, no, actually it starts from legal associate, junior, senior, and then it moves forward. So yeah.
If you could go back to your first year of law school, what would you tell yourself about the journey?
Ooh, school. That was really interesting, because first year law student, we all think we know the
Yeah.
law. We get excited. We all want to change the constitution. We all want to be whatever we want to be. Great. I'll tell myself that strap yourself up. The journey is long. It's gonna take more of you, mentally, physically. So I will literally tell myself that you need to be ready for the fight ahead. That it's not easy. I do give respect to all the admitted attorneys out there, because I know the journey, it's not easy. It's time where you doubt yourself so much. So I tell myself that get ready for the journey that's ahead. And yeah, the journey's been hard and challenging, but it's also been great. So yeah.
This is my last question. So,
Yes.
Many young people dream of entering the legal field but feel intimidated. What honest advice would you give to an aspiring lawyer navigating today's
Mhm.
realities?
I'll tell you firstly, enroll for that LLB. That's where you start. Start by LLB, or rather start by grade 11 and applying for varsities for that LLB. Get to that LLB and create a structure for yourself. Structure, by structure I mean hard work. Hard work, passion. Isolate your things that might affect your process. Know what you want, and I always emphasize on the end goal. End goal is key because once you have that end goal, goal, it makes the journey a bit much better because you might face any challenge along the way, but you know where you wanna be. You know where you wanna be. In my case, I wanted to be an admitted attorney. So next year, I'm actually doing my master's and doing my notary exam. So initially, that was the aim, and the aim still goes. Every year we will create new objectives. So for me, I'll tell that young Tabiso that register for that LLB and create a structure and know your end goal. Know why you're doing this. Trust me, the journey will be hard, but it's gonna be worth it.
You said you're working on next year. You will be doing your your masters and also your notary.
Yes, that's correct.
Do you mind telling us,
My notary exam,
yeah,
yes.
what notary is?
So notaries indeed deals with prenuptial contracts. Initially, drafting a prenuptial contract between parties. So initially, that is what I'll be doing. And for you to be admitted as a notary, you first have to be admitted as an attorney. But does not stop you from writing it at the same time. But you won't be admitted yet. But you won't be admitted first. You need to be admitted after or at the same time. As an attorney, so it's the exam that I'll be taking next year. So I'll be preparing. I think this whole December, my December is already full. So yeah, I'll be literally studying, and then also I'll write it in March, and then I think second intake for my masters. Then I'll start with my masters in banking. And yes, that is so far what I've planned for next year so far.
So you won't be enjoying the festive. You'll be studying in one way.
I doubt I'll be enjoying because I will be studying, so I won't be. Yeah, but I will try enjoy my weekends with the families and friends. But I have to actually focus because remember my aim is actually to be a doctor in law. So I need to actually work my way up. So yeah, that is the aim. That's the end goal. What I was talking about, the end goal. That's the end goal. To be a professor and all that. So that is where I'm heading to. But I know it's gonna take time and energy. So we start with what we can and see where it takes us.
You mentioned earlier on that University of London is giving you insight insight in international law. So do you see yourself maybe practicing
Yes, that's
international
correct.
law in the future?
Yes, because it goes back to my moot court. We did so I did represent South Africa in Australia back in the when I was doing my moot court, and I just had an experience to how international applies. It literally shows you that international can actually it goes even the constitution actually says that we do get inspiration from international law when we can't resolve any matter within our borders. So international law is really important because it guides the world. You know, the ICC actually guides us a lot. We saw how our justices or our jurists actually went there and they argued the matter. So that actually shows you that international law is really something big that we should actually consider. And I do see myself actually international practicing in the ICC or using international law as a practice in the future if I actually have an opportunity that actually arises from such. So yeah.
You also mentioned that you went to Australia to represent South Africa regarding mock law.
Yes.
Uh, what does it entail?
Yeah.
What is that about?
So it was a moot court competition that was we selected the top five in the law competition in the country, and then we had to go to represent the country. It was very a good experience. It was a moot court, so it's a law competition for law
Oh, okay.
students. Did that. I think I made to the semi-finals
Nice.
against other countries. I think I went to that final. Yeah, I went against. I believe it was France. Yeah, I went against those students. They were really amazing. So it was really a good experience. Actually, it built my passion when my passion became more vasted, more the law was more like it was what I was actually thinking about more because after such experience it does not leave you the same anymore because you end up seeing the law is not only narrow from what you know but it's actually broad. For such experience actually advise law students to actually be take part in such so that you can just build yourself and it also builds your litigation skills. So I think it was actually a great experience for myself.
Okay, I have another question.
No problem.
Can someone who has a South African LLB use it maybe in a different country?
So far, I know that you can use it in London because I do have colleagues that are actually working in London. So UK, they went there. I think you can. USA, I'm not quite sure, but last time I asked, you can actually write their board. You can actually go to school. I think go to law school again for I think 1 year or 2 years, and then you write their board exam. So yeah, I think you can still do that. So remember, also being admitted, one of the requirements, so you must have LLB that is equivalent to the AC, to the Republic of South Africa. So if you have also LLB from somewhere else, you can, as long as equivalent to the LLB in SA, can actually be accepted. So I think so. Those are the countries. I think also Canada can also also allows LLB from SA to actually be utilized that side. So that's what I know.
Benjamin, I would like to take this moment to say thank you for taking the time to talk to us and sharing your journey with us. I don't know if maybe there's anything you want to share, any last words, closing words you have for us.
My last word would be enjoy the law. Law is not easy. It's amazing. Stay humble, keep learning, and see you at the top.
Well, thank you.